Eusexua. Eusexua.
Eusexua is like a feeling of I'm that bitch.
Eusexua takes over who you are.
Eusexua. Let's try the other one.
Eusexua. Shimmering rose petals on my skin.
Do you ever felt eusexual with each other?
Yes. Everything feels perfect.
Right before an orgasm.
Like you finally reached the destination.
Eusexua.
Eusexua is trust in your body.
Express myself better or create something without using the generally available language.
Eusexua is oxygen, the thing that makes me feel alive. I just never knew how to put the words to it. Eusexua.
E-U-S-E-X-A.
FKA Twigs has released her highly anticipated third full-length album, Eusexua, which is said to be inspired by the Berlin rave scene. 3 singles led the way for this album release, being that of title track Eusexua, followed by Perfect Stranger, then lastly Drums of Death. FKA began to tease this album at her Valentino fashion show performance in 2023, and within the fandom the anticipation only built since there. Eusexua marks 10 years since her debut LP1, and it signifies how FKA is always genre bending within her work. Twigs has said in multiple interviews leading up to this release that Eusexua is inspired by the Berlin rave scene, after Twigs herself spent a year living there and experiencing the underground rave community that is rife within Berlin. There is definitely a wide club and rave inspiration on this album, with Twigs experimenting with techno, rave, deconstructive pop, hyperpop, balladry on this genre bend of an album. The album starts off with the title track Eusexua, which was our first serving from this album, being the first single released. Eusexua is a vocally charged dynamic electronic song that highlights Twigs' vocals and is vocally reminiscent of Home With You from Twigs' 2019 release Magdalene. We then move into Girl Feels Good, the first not single on this album, which is a tense, ominous, alternative pop song with an almost futuristic supernatural instrumental sound on the chorus, with Twigs singing the main hook, "When a girl feels good, you'll know."
When a girl feels good, it makes the world go round. When the night feels young, you know she feels pretty. A girl feels.
We then have the other 2 singles, Perfect Stranger and Drums of Death. One is definitely more experimental than the other. Drums of Death is a collaboration with producer Corliss and is a deconstructed pop song, which does sound like it could have come straight from a Berlin rave, with an instantly recognisable deep pulsing drum beat throughout the song, and almost hyperpop inspired production choices on the instrumentals, as well as Twigs' main vocals, with highly distorted reverb usage, which makes them sound almost robotic. Out of the 3 singles released before the album, this was by far my favourite. Perfect Stranger, on the other hand, is an R&B club song about feeling a strong sexual connection to a stranger that you've just met. Overall, a catchy song, however to me it isn't the strongest upon this album. As a standalone single, it works exceptionally well though. Twigs seemingly takes inspiration from her experimental predecessors such as Bjork on the next song, Room of Fools. Vocally, Twigs is experimenting on this song, throwing her vocals in such a way that can only be described as exploratory. For instance, on the post-chorus where Twigs sings "It Feels Nice," she is pushing her vocals right at the end to create this almost 90s balladry with her vocals on an otherwise EDM-inspired song. It is one of my favourites and it's such an interesting listen. Similarly, Twigs takes inspiration from Kate Bush on art pop track Keep It Hold It. It's a song that slowly builds in anticipation and structure, with very minimal instrumentation up until the very end. We're taken on a journey by Twigs' vocals and Twigs' vocals alone, up until around the 2:10 mark, where we're successfully transported back to the Berlin rave this album was inspired by. After Keep It Hold It, we have Childlike Things, a noughties-esque, almost Gwen Stefani inspired song, being more upbeat, which I definitely do find enjoyable, and again think this is a strong song on its own, but in the world of this album it is debatable as to whether it fits, in my opinion. It is also debatable on Twigs' choice of feature on this song, with Northwest almost shout rapping in Japanese for about 20 seconds. Striptease is a more sensual R&B electronic song about wanting to fulfill someone's sexual fantasies. However, in typical Twigs' fashion, it is a lot deeper than that. Lyrically, the song is emotively charged with lyrics such as "I'm stripping my heart till my pain disappears," opening me feels like a striptease," perhaps signifying the metaphor of the striptease being trusting somebody again. I also think Twigs once again shows the power of her vocals on the reprise section of this song, with her heavenly operatic vocals coming into play. A real-life siren is what she is. My ranking for this album is continually changing, but here is where it stands at the moment. Number 1 is Sticky, 2 Keep It Hold It, 3 Room of Fools, 4 Drums of Death, 5 Girl Feels Good, number 6 is Striptease, 7 EUSEXUA, 8 is 24 Hour Dog, 9 Perfect Stranger, 10 Childlike Things, and 11 Wanderlust. Please do let me know what your 1 to 11 ranking of this album is in the comments, and we'll see how much mine differs from everyone else. Something I have always loved about Twigs is her penmanship, which is no different on this album. Twigs uses metaphors such as the aforementioned metaphor on striptease to convey her struggles and mental headspace when writing the song. Furthermore, on Sticky, Twigs says, "But it hurts so bad to shed my skin with you watching, and my body aches to be known to be expressive in itself. I want to forgive myself. I want to release myself from the pain I have inside," detailing her struggle to show vulnerability in relationships within her life. Even on the title track EUSEXUA, Twigs sings, "People always told me that I took my love too far, then refused to help me. I was on the edge of something greater than before, but nobody told me." Emotive storytelling is something Twigs has always had a special talent for, and this album is a masterclass in lyricism, which would perhaps be unexpected for an album inspired by an underground rave scene, but nevertheless, Twigs pulls it off. It is also worth noting that EUSEXUA has done exceptionally well both in the charts and in the eyes of critics. As of writing this script, which is the second week of EUSEXUA being released, the album stands at UK number 3 on the album charts, the highest any of her releases have achieved. Pitchfork gave the album a 9.1 out of 10, with them saying Twigs' third album brings club music into her sensual supernatural world. It's a masterful pop star moment for the artist, and The Guardian calling the album a hymn to the healing power of the dance floor. I have been a Twigs fan since I saw the video for 2 weeks in 2014. She is the top visionary artist of our generation of musicians, in my opinion, and EUSEXUA is a great addition to her already stellar discography.